What is it like to run a YouTube channel that puts out an episode every week for an entire year? Find out next. Hello and welcome to Stationery Test Drive. For every week of the last 52 weeks, we have done art and things with the kind of stationery tools that many of you just use every day as normal things. And I am a normal person, it seems. I'm Vishal.
This is Minjal.
I'm Samir. And this extra episode, we're going to be looking at, well, what is the story of why did we do this? Why are we here? Not in a general existential way, but like on your YouTube feed, why are these three sets of hands showing up every week for the last 52 and showing you weird random pieces of art? Like that makes no sense. That's not a thing people do, whatever that sentence was. So onward.
So Inky Memo actually started in 2018.
That is our brand, so to speak.
Yes. And the reason we actually, decided to launch a brand, stationery brand, was that not enough people actually go behind the stories of stationery. Most of us are only focused on, these nice, bright, shiny, colorful objects. But, we, discovered some fascinating tales along the way, of how these objects are made, the companies behind them, some bitter rivalries, patent wars. It was such a fascinating journey that we decided to actually document all of it.
And at this point, I was not actually involved. It was Samir and you, right?
Yes.
We always had your moral support, Vishal. You were always there.
I was the sounding board, let's say.
Yes, I mean, it never felt like you were not around.
Yes.
But Inky Memo started then, and we
just decided that it needed more of a formal place, I guess, online, where people could come back to it and come back to see the stories and see what kind of new information we were finding out, what new experiments we were doing. It was really quite open-ended when we started it.
So we started, with a website. We started sending out newsletters every month. And along the way, Vishal, obviously, Samir and I know that Vishal is extremely fond of, discovering, excellent content on YouTube. And I think it was Kayfabe, who actually kind of inspired.
Right. Actually, that story is a sort of a fascinating Frankenstein of a story. So what happened was, obviously, it was 2020 or early in 2021, and everything that was happening in 2020 and 2021 was happening, and we were lucky, like many people are, and not so many people were. To be sitting at home through most of this and cushy and having things delivered to us, be it groceries or food or life essentials, and working remotely. And one of the things we started doing a lot of in 2020 and 2021 was watching YouTube, because frankly, for all the wonderful content that is out there, sometimes it was just nice to just sit back and watch people have a conversation. One of those people, like Minjal said, was the channel Cartoonist Kayfabe, who are two wonderful people who are comic artists and comic professionals, who pretty much every day actually, they're much more prolific than we are. They look at comic books, and through the lens of their own professional kind of experience, but also through the lens of just enthusiasts, people who love things. And I think somewhere maybe 3 or 4 months into watching that, because we discovered that at the end of 2020, I think Samir and I were just sitting down one day and saying, you know what, we're kind of professionals in some form in the fields of design and art and whatever, and we're also enthusiasts the way these people are about comics. what we could talk about something. And of course, we went through all the usual things. Oh, there's design, there's illustration, there's things like that. But honestly, there were people covering that. But we had already, Minjal and Samir had already identified someplace that these stories were not being told, and that was in stationery. Of course, you already had the newsletters and things on inkymemo.com, which are still there, and they still continue to be a vital part of that. But yeah, that was like one half of it. And I think around the same time, I was obviously, like everyone else, I was watching cooking channels on YouTube, and the way people were doing it. And there was one of them, it's called About to Eat, and I think it's from BuzzFeed basically. And those guys had this format, at least at the time, which weirdly they do not do much of anymore, where they kind of had three people taking either one ingredient or taking one kind of theme and doing three different things with them. And somewhere in, I guess, watching one of those back to back, I said, hey, hang on, this is something we can do that we enjoy doing with a sort of a niche of things that we really enjoy doing. And we thought, okay, someone must have done this, right? Several people must have done this. And we looked at least on YouTube and we couldn't really find anything like this. There were plenty of these top-down views of nice pages on perfect or sometimes dirty cutting boards, the ones with the graphs on them. And then there was a person taking a pen and going like with that sound and writing things out for maybe like half an hour and yes, those were very informative, but they weren't this.
Yeah, I think what we found was that there were people testing stationery in a very unstructured way, and then there were people who were showing off their art. But there was no one that we could find that was quite doing what we wanted to do, which was to test out stationery in the form of finished art to a large extent. We don't always do extremely high level art, but we test it out in some sort of finished way. What's it like to actually finish a piece, however simple or complex?
Yeah, because let's face it, doing that on a page doesn't really tell you. It can tell you something in the micro, but not in the macro. What's it like to do it over?
It doesn't tell you what the experience of using a tool is like to actually make something.
The other gap that the three of us actually discovered was that most of the Indian stationery channels,
because we're in India,
and most of the Indian stationery channels are covering stationery purely from a feature aspect, where you would have people just read out the features of the object and maybe at best talk about the price points. What we wanted to do was take it a step further and actually try it out not only from an artist's perspective, but also somebody who is just simply using these objects to say maybe doodle or take notes. So it was a perspective that was not just an expert's perspective, but also just somebody who says a stationery enthusiast.
Yeah, an enthusiastic amateur in the old sense of the term.
Yeah. So yes, ideas are all well and good. Everyone has ideas. I have boatloads of them and files full of them and folders full of those files full of ideas. But this was an idea that either, luckily for us, let's say, did not actually go away. Many ideas just kind of wither on the vine after you had them. You think, oh, that would be kind of nice to have. But this one stuck around because in some ways we were all kind of heading here. We all were interested. We're graphic designers, calligraphers, all that. But we're on social media, and you're on social media. And obviously when you think of either consuming things on social media, content, eventually you think of making things on social media. And we discovered that, we kind of had all the equipment we needed. We're not exactly filmmakers or anything, but now in 2022 here, you can get a very decent amount of equipment decent bang for your buck, or rupee or whatever you're using. Just like we discovered with stationery that there were all these things that were good enough to make good art with. So there was good enough technical camera stuff to make good enough stuff with.
Yeah.
And instead of, I don't know, making a documentary on the history of stationery and then going to film festivals and, wearing black turtlenecks and doing all that, which we have not ruled out. Let's just be clear about that.
Vishal loves turtlenecks.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a turtleneck? But what we said was, let's give this a shot. Let's do this idea that we've had with the equipment that we have, and the stationery that we have. We did actually go out and buy stuff for it. And I think it was Tim Ferriss or someone who said that, try everything for 6 episodes. Don't decide after 1, because you'll never end up making 2 otherwise. And don't say that I'm going to make 52 and then not make them. Just make 6. And that's what we did. We made 6 of these, right? And they're still around. They're still on the channel. You can go back and see them. And we are not proud of them, but they are a bit rougher than these ones for sure. Because none of us had any real experience before, right? I'd put out a couple of YouTube videos showing my art off, like a sketchbook tour and all that. Samir, you had your channel Paper Nautic, which is about origami, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the closest any one of us had done to this. It's kind of a top-down of me folding some models.
Yeah, and silent. Whereas these were we were going to be talking, we were going to be demonstrating things, we had to prepare things for, And Minjal, what is your YouTube? Do you have a secret YouTube career that you never told us about?
No, I have a channel which has I think 4 subscribers, including me, you, and Samir. So that is my journey on YouTube, and I don't have any videos on my channel.
Who's the 4th person?
Who's the 4th?
Somebody who likes my display picture, I'm guessing. Like Vishal was saying, most of the stationery that we've tested on the show has been, stuff that is lying around at home. And that is also something that we wanted to kind of, let people know that you don't really need expensive stationery. You don't need international brands. I mean, yes, we hoard stationery, so we do have a lot of international stationery brands also with us. But sometimes even simple objects, like a ball pen lying around at home, personally, for me, just, it kind of changed my perspective that you can use a ball pen not just for writing, but you can use it for doodling, for Zentangles, for, making a portrait. I think we kind of box ourselves in and we kind of fall prey to the marketing, that a particular brand will kind of project to you that, this pen can be used only for lettering. And then, we follow them and we don't realize that, one tool has multiple uses.
Yes, I think especially in this world where pretty much the first response you're going to get when you say that you're into stationery is, why computers exist? There is that too. There is this world where 99% of the time, and that was us during the last few years as well, we were stuck to our phones, we were stuck to our screens, we were stuck to our devices. And this love for stationery, this love for the tactile thing, the way you can make art with it, was eroding somewhat. We were trying to keep up our artistic practices. But there was nothing to, to distract us, let's say, from the endless torrent of content out there. So we said, if we can't beat them, let's join them, and let's make our own content that is very much a weird lo-fi, thing. And now we have a year of it.
And we've fielded multiple questions throughout the year about why we don't show our faces. But that has also been a very conscious decision, because the heroes, of our channel really are these objects. It's not really our faces, and it's not our beautiful faces, may I add.
And let's talk about that on a technical note. And in fact, why don't we bring up a little bit about the technical side of things? We are obviously not professional, studio filmmaker type people. We shoot this not in a professional studio. We shoot this at our homes with equipment that is not going to last, and it's not an Arri Alexa. First of all, let's talk about the camera. This is a DJI Osmo Pocket. It's a very tiny gimbal camera that we had just before. In 2019 we thought, in 2020 we're just going to go and travel everywhere, and we're going to take this gimbal camera that takes beautiful stabilized video, and that didn't happen.
Thankfully, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing a lot of origami workshops at home over Zoom.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we didn't talk about. Please.
And that's actually the reason why we have this lighting package, which is fairly simple. There's one, where is it?
That way.
There, that way.
It's
There's one large soft box up there at a 45-degree angle.
with a LED light that's like a 50-watt light. It's not even at full power. So because the Osmo is a very good camera, it took us a while. We used to just like blast the thing and think, okay, we need all that light, but no.
And
you need
we
very
have
little
a
light.
small LED V light.
V light, or you might get the Amaran or something. Basically, it's the size of a pack of cards. It's an LED light that's RGB as well.
So that's just doing sort of a little fill-in.
In fact, let me just like change it to some other mode to show you. If you can see, my hand is now, So yeah, we use this. Even it's at 10%. It's not even
And now it's flashing.
And now it's flashing. But yeah, we just use that as a bit of a fill in this. A lot of this stuff, obviously, if you go back and see the first episodes, it's evolved over time, but it's a tripod with a kind of mount, and I just bumped the mic. We'll talk about the mic as well. The mic is a Zoom H1N, nice simple recorder that just takes stereo and that we use record separately. We clap sync. We used to clap sync with literal claps, and then I figured out I got one of these which is cheaper than a gray card or a color balance card because it has these, and frankly at our level of amateur enthusiast filmmaking, this setup is good enough. It's several $100s or several tens of thousands of rupees, yes, but it's also not hundreds of thousands of rupees, which is where like a basic camera setup starts. And yeah, this is our setup. This is just a table, which luckily we had like a dining table that kind of raises up. That's another like weird little trick. I think for the first 20 or 30 episodes we sat down and it was perfectly fine, but we realized that as people who aren't professional like actors or people who know how to use their voice, we were getting better results standing up.
We were getting better results standing up, and we were getting better results where we were not stuck to the spot.
Yeah. Your brain, at least my brain, would sort of start shutting down on sentences after a while.
What happens these days is when one of us is talking, the other person is almost taking a step back or taking
walking
a little
around, walking around the room, and it's a great fluid way of talking. If you're doing a kind of YouTube thing, I would highly suggest it. Find a way to get like a standing desk or something like that.
And I think it helps people like us because we are, let's say, more conversational than performance oriented.
Yeah,
so it helps us talk to each other more normally.
I should say that obviously it must be showing to a lot of you, but these episodes are not scripted. We have a general idea of what we're going to do. Sometimes we'll have like a general pitch for the direction we want to talk about. We have the work. Many times we don't even show the work to each other. And then we just like hit record, clap sync and go.
So, what has really surprised me this journey of 52 weeks. I started calligraphy, say 5 or 6 years ago. And I thought the only object I could really use was the Pilot Parallel pen. I started using the pen, and that's the only object that I did all my practice with. Now, in the course of Stationery Test Drive, I kind of also managed to, break out of that limitation that I had set for myself. I've always seen other calligraphy artists use a variety of tools, for their lettering and lettering practices. And this show actually gave me the opportunity to kind of get past my, fears. And I've been able to teach myself so many techniques. Pinterest has been great help, other YouTube channels, where people very generously show the techniques, have been very, very helpful. And with this show, we also hope that, people kind of realize the potential of the tools they have and also don't kind of box themselves, in kind of the knowledge that they would have kind of...
Well, anecdotally, we can already attest to that. We are a very small channel, although we have been growing. But we have people who come in and do say that, I never thought you could use a cheap gel pen like the Roreto Fasty for making something cool. I didn't know you could use highlighters in a way that's other than office highlighting. I didn't know you could use a Koi brush pen, which is, an artistic pen, but like didn't know you could use it for uh, calligraphy. Or, just that a good pen, sometimes you just need the reinforcement that, the uni pins and the fine liners are just great artistic tools, and you need one more person to say it. As far as what I learned from all of this, well, I learned how to edit, shoot, color grade, sound edit, shoot B-roll, video and photography for artwork, uh, and then turn all of that around sometimes within 24 to 48 hours.
And you produce 48 pieces that can really be displayed in a gallery.
Yes, that is true for all three of us. I think that's like 140 something pieces. Each of us has a fat binder of 48 pieces, which I'll need to scan and put together, and so that people can see them all in one big thing. I have, like, personally, I'm telling you, I've done more pieces. I've done like 100 of something, or 126, but they're always in a limited kind of thing. This is the most variety of work that I have ever done on a single project. And yes, we think of this as a single project. Samir, what have you learned?
I've ended up learning kind of a very strange set of things. For one, this has just been a large undertaking because Vishal is right in that we started it with the goal of, let's just shoot 5 or 6 of them, and if we like it, we'll see what happens beyond that. But as soon as we started preparing for it and we chose the first 5 or 6 instruments, we said, nothing's going to happen if we do just 5 or 6 of these. Let's do 52. And yes, you're seeing us now at episode 53. We have finished what we set out to do. But doing 52 of anything, and that too spread out over a year and involving 3 people, is not a simple thing to do.
And we've not missed a single week.
Yeah, and that too, scheduling it during many times lockdowns during the pandemic. That has also thrown a spanner in our works in many ways.
So, strangely enough, I'd say the thing that I learned the most from this and I found interesting was just managing this as a project was an interesting undertaking. Just getting everyone on the same page, making sure everything gets done on time, making sure that we are all thinking about or talking about the same thing.
Absolutely.
These are all things that you can't quite call a skill, but it needs to happen.
No, I mean, it's hard for us, we don't put credits on this show in terms of like, who's the director, who's the producer, who's the writer, because really it's a little hard to figure out. Yes, I handle camera and things like that and the edit and whatever, but there's so much more work that happens that needs to happen before any record button is pressed, and even after the record button has been pressed again to end, that Samir has to handle, that Minjal has to handle in terms of the subtitles and the research and making sure all the links are right, the cards are right on YouTube. Yeah. There is this whole other side of YouTube that's not just making the thing. If you think that, making the video is the major issue, no, there's all the other things, the technical side of it, making sure the thumbnails and all that are correct. And
the descriptions, the tags, the subtitles, the cards, the end screens, the list goes on, the thumbnail. There's easily 20 things you need to do to make a YouTube video feel like it's professional and finished and complete.
And we're saying this from the position of people who had, I don't know, how many subscribers did we have at the beginning?
Yeah, when we started the channel, we had 2 subscribers.
Okay, and now we have 180 or something as well.
188.
Right. And now that isn't a lot by YouTube standards, where people have tens of millions of subscribers, but for 3 people making a weekly show about stationery who have no real marketing at all, we have not, other than our own like families and maybe our small social circles online, no one really gets to know about this show. And yeah, I think we're starting to find a very tiny audience. We're very glad for whoever is here, by the way. You have no idea how happy we are about that. We considered that we were just going to get 2 subscribers and maybe 10 views on every video for the first year.
And
it's
I think we have consistently crossed 100 almost videos easily,
yeah,
like within a week or two.
yeah, and those people are definitely not people who know us. So
And also, since everybody spends so much time on social media, the other observation has been, that I'm not against any social media platform particularly, but I've realized that YouTube is probably the most, fair, if I may put it that way. You can really create content, you can put it up there. They make sure that they give everyone the right kind of
They give everyone a
tools.
chance to be seen.
Yes.
yeah,
And we're very happy to have found our small audience. We get feedback from them. There are people who write into us and say that we purchased this particular pen after we watched your episode. And we're very happy that we're able to reach out to even one stationery lover and get them to buy something that we've liked.
yeah, it is ultimately about the stationery, this show, and our aim on Inky Memo is to tell stories like this. Stories. It sounds very grandiose, but yeah, that has been the first year of Stationery Test Drive. Well, what's next?
So what we're doing next is we will continue with Stationery Test Drive. We're looking at maybe not doing a weekly segment,
Yes.
but we will probably have 2 episodes going out every month.
So every other week, instead of every Tuesday, every other Tuesday, you will get an episode of Stationery Test Drive, same way we've done it before. Tests. We have so many things that we did not cover this first year.
Yeah.
Things that we've just said, okay, let's just wait and keep it. But so you're saying, okay, 2 weeks, do I have to not bother to show up on Tuesdays at 6:30? Well, actually, we think you should, because we have in the planning stages right now and recording very soon 2 other shows. We have not quite figured them out yet in terms of, just like Stationery Test Drive, we're saying, what, let's do 6 of each of them and then see how we like them. Many people have asked us for more in-depth things. They like what we've done with the art. They like that, but they also like those shows where people just draw things. So our new show, one of them, is going to be us drawing things or coming up with artwork. It'll be start to finish, from blank page to finished page, if that's a teaser for it. And yes, obviously they'll be longer. We won't be able to do as many of them. Hence why I was just saying we'll do 6 and then we'll see. And that's that one. Some people, some of our audience, really enjoys the stories behind these things, but they enjoy them on a more, let's say, geeky level, I would say. So that's our other show. Yes, I know we're going from 1 show to 3, but it's still going to be weekly, so you don't need to worry about setting aside more time for us. Although we would not mind if you did.
And we're just trying to go beyond the very, what has now turned out to be a very solid structure that we have set up for Stationery Test Drive. We just want to try out other ways of conveying our love for stationery and
art.
A lot of the information that we try to pass on to you.
Yeah, because Stationery Test Drive is very much focused on the stationery. Inky Memo is not just about stationery itself, but about all the things that you can use it for, the way masters have used it, the way amateurs used it. We are somewhere in between sometimes on various different things. So yeah, that's 3 things that you can look forward to. But we are going to give you a bit of a break from us. If for some wonderful or stupid reason you are fed up of us, with us, we are going away for a few weeks, to at least in the next couple of weeks in December, and this is December 2022. We'll be back in January 2023 with Stationery Test Drive and more and other things. And in fact, if you want us to cover certain things, if you think we should maybe get into shorts or things like that, please leave a comment. Tell us what you're thinking about, what you want us to do. I hope to see you in January for all our shows, but especially back here on Stationery Test Drive. It's been a wonderful year. It's been a wonderful year for us to make. to make the things and the show, and we continue and hope to see you when we're making things. Until then, I'm Vishal.
This is Minjal.
I'm Samir. And if you liked us doing 52 episodes, here's a playlist of all 52. That won't take you too long. Vishal?
52 is better than none.